This is the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast, episode 40.
Welcome to the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast with Ken Countess. Ken is an internationally recognized marketing expert. This podcast will give you tips on how to market your business more effectively than ever before to help you make more money, whether you're just starting out or have been in business for years. And now, here's Ken Countess.
Welcome to the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast. I'm Ken Countess, and today I've got a very special guest. Of course, I say that a lot with guests, but this one's particularly special. This is Owen Crisp, and Owen I know you'll enjoy this episode. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about USP, and I'll let Owen talk more about that. But you'll be listening to a guy who's got a wealth of experience in sales and marketing, and his website is Marketing Uncomplicated. And if you go to that website, marketinguncomplicated.com, one of the things that really caught my eye was he says, no baffle gab. Now, I call it techno speak. He calls it baffle gab. But it's, in my opinion, one and the same. Owen can correct me if that's not the case. But essentially, it's dumbing it down, if you will, or at least leveling the playing field to let people know who you are and what you do and why they need to do business with you and not one of your competitors. So with that as an intro, Owen, welcome to the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast.
Ken, thank you very much for having me along. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you today because you're so energetic and so charged.
Well, thanks. You know, part of it is it's late afternoon here. So whenever you're listening to this, whether you're on the road or stuck in traffic, hopefully the energy will keep you from falling asleep as you watch those dotted lines slowly creep past you. Just a quick side note, we went to a wedding this past weekend. We're recording this in roughly late June of 2018. And I live in Florida, as many of you listeners know. I'm in the Orlando area, which has traffic as bad as all the other metropolitan areas in the U.S., LA, Houston, Dallas, Miami, you pick it. It was so bad this weekend. It was, and quite frankly, I don't know how I got off on that tangent. But anyway, Owen, it's great to have you here. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you see Owen is decked for the occasion. Tell us all a little bit about you, Owen, and let's get this going.
Well, Ken, I thought I would bring a little levity to the intro part of this afternoon's get together and conversation. Ken, I got back about a year ago from 3 years in Costa Rica. And while I was down there, I managed to pick up this shirt and soak up the warm weather that you experience in Orlando down there for almost 3 years. It was an awful lot of fun. I helped a couple of businesses down there really do something enjoyable. And that's why I decided I'd throw the sunglasses on, because we up here in Canada are about to go as hot as we were down in Costa Rica year-round this week.
And for those of you who are on the audio side and not and you don't have an image of what Owen is looking like during this recording, he does have his sunglasses on, as he mentioned, and he's got this bright flowery shirt with a red background. It really stands out. So if you do have the opportunity to take a look at our YouTube channel and check out this episode, this will be episode either 39 or 40 when we get it produced. You're in for a treat. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk quite a bit about USP in just a few moments. But I wanted to ask you, Owen, before doing what you're doing today as a marketing consultant with the marketinguncomplicated.com website, what was your last gig and why did you leave it? And how long ago was that?
Well, Ken, that would actually be the work that I did in Costa Rica. I worked with an Airbnb client and clearly demonstrated and proved to myself as well just how important content is. We took his site, which was on Airbnb and HomeAway, nothing more, wasn't spending any money. We revised the content to make it full and complete, telling a story, making it innovative. We then took the owner, who is an octogenarian Korean War vet, who's been down in Costa Rica since the early 2000s. He built the house that he's in. We set all that up and revised the copy. And Ken, he went from about 15% capacity up to 83% capacity year one.
Wow.
And he has stayed there each and every year since. And we pay attention to the details. We respond to people's comments on the website. He is Airbnb's gold star innovator down there. But he's shown to be the knowledge provider in the area, and he leaves his people alone. He actually lives on the property, and people say they'd never know he was there. I also, while I was down there, volunteered, because I couldn't work down there, I volunteered with a coffee shop. And Karina had created a business called Tacofia. It was a sensational name. She had a wonderful, wonderful positioning. And all of that together needed some guidance and direction on bringing her some of the really simple things that could grow her business. So by and large, it was volunteering to help these businesses grow. There was a boutique hotel. We went in and we worked with their restaurant staff to try and grow things. And we worked with the owner to try and make sure he was spending his money effectively.
Well, congratulations on your success and the successes that you just mentioned. That's really amazing stuff. What made you get into what you're doing today?
Well, in a sense, Ken, part of it's a fluke. Part of it is who you know. I was, during my summers, working for a mining company in Western Canada, and thought I was going to settle in Vancouver and become a stockbroker, and realized that really wasn't up my alley. I came back to Toronto, and a friend of mine got me into the advertising business with the Ted Bates Advertising Agency, and that is where Rossa Reeves was, who was the one who started me off on my passion today, which is making sure that people create and use the USP, or a unique selling proposition. Now, Ken, I spent 5 years in advertising, but I wasn't accountable. And I'm sure you probably can sense this depending on which side of the equation you're dealing with. So I moved across into marketing, and the rest of my career ultimately became new products marketing more by a fluke.
Well, that's pretty awesome. And I'm looking over on the side here. I'm looking at some of the brands you've been associated with: Oreo, Pillsbury, Del Monte, Old Spice, Milkbone, Pine Sol, Colonel's, Green Giant, and Ritz. Wow.
Yeah, you know what? It was a great ride. It was a lot of fun. And early on in my career, it seemed as though business was so mystical, so complex, so difficult, and so much hard work. Now, if you work smart, then you don't mind working hard. And I caught the front end of the computer age. And while I was at Pillsbury, we actually were doing things on, I'll age myself here, Ken, Lotus 1-2-3. So we were doing things, Ken, on Lotus 1-2-3 that weren't even being done on the mainframe. So I was able to then work an awful lot smarter than harder, because we were getting numbers that would allow us to identify the biggest opportunities and where we could ultimately go for success. But my career, as I said, in new products it wasn't preordained, and it wasn't something that I actually aggressively sought out. It was, I would put my hand up for a business, and it turned out the business needed a new product in order to really grow. So we did it.
That's great. So let's talk about the notion of unique selling proposition. We opened up with a vague reference to it. It is so critically important. You and I both know as marketers that you've got to set yourself apart from the competition. You've got to stand out somehow. And USP is one of the best ways, in my opinion, to do that. You want to go ahead and take over from there?
Well, it is, and you and I both know it's important because when you create a USP or a unique selling proposition, it's not a tagline. It is not something that you're going to throw away. You're going to sit down in your business and say, what is it I do best? Mm-hmm. What is it I do better than anybody else? How can I encapsulate that in 8 words or less? Okay, so we went through the exercise and now we have a unique selling proposition for marketing uncomplicated. Now we've got it, but we have to use that, Ken, everywhere that logo appears. If I'm advertising out on the street to local businesses, it should say marketing uncomplicated, simple solutions to your business problems. If I use that everywhere online, I use it outside, I use it in every communication, everybody will know what it is I do, and it's very narrow and very defined and very focused. And businesses don't want to do that. They want to be all things to all people. So the magic of the USP is dragging you back into and staying focused on what's going to bring you the biggest amount of money.
Sure. And I think another point we can make here is that USP is so critically important, and a lot of companies get enamored with this whole notion of having to create a mission and vision. And yes, they're important, but they tend to be very, very long. And we used to, in my old Motorola days, much as I loved them, we asked people to memorize the mission and vision. And, for what purpose? It really didn't help them communicate what it was we were trying to offer a customer or client that would make their lives better, help make them more money. And I think that had we spent more time asking people to understand the USP, we probably would have gotten further along. As successful as Motorola was, it did hit a peak, and then we know what happened since.
You're absolutely right, Ken. And while we've come into the era where area codes are part of our phone number, why were phone numbers 7 numbers long? So therefore, why should a USP be 7 words long? It should be 7 words long because it's memorable, it's easy to associate. You have a front and a back end, as I do on mine. When you do that, people will get there. And if you think back to the FedEx days, theirs was when it absolutely positively has to be there. The whole company could get behind that.
Right.
The whole company understood what it was all about. The whole company believed in what that is. And the best marketers in the world are the De Beers company. A diamond is forever. They've taken something which really has no value at all, and they've created value from that product by creating a very limited supply. And as they control the supply, they control the price, and then they've positioned it upscale, 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 upscale.
Excellent point. So obviously USP is one of these areas where people tend to be pretty challenged, and I think you've done an incredible job of articulating the importance of the USP. Where do you find business owners are most challenged in growing their business?
They believe can build it and they will come. I see that all the time. And the reality is, if you build it, I'm sorry, like the Field of Dreams, they're not coming. They are absolutely not coming. You need to advertise. And that advertising needs to be clean, simple, and impactful. I don't know whether in our previous conversations, you and I talked about Costa Rica and Toad Hall, but if you're in Liberia in the north end of Costa Rica and you decide you want to go to Volcano Arenal and Lake Arenal, you have to drive up one single road by and large. And on your trip up there, you'll see metal corrugated, you know what I mean? Those old-fashioned roofs, all painted yellow, with red words on them, best best avocados in town, best guacamole in town. You've got to stop for our coffee. Gorgeous view of Lake Arundel. And you had a conversation every 5 or 7 or 10 miles, and then you went further. And when you get up to this tiny, it's not even a village, it's not even a hamlet, it's 2 stores side by side. You got to stop because they've created this character of the toad, and they've talked to you on the way up. And how else would you have learned about them? You would have just zoomed right by them if you hadn't realized and they hadn't had that conversation. Ken, that advertising is so simple, so cost effective. Now, people say, well, I have rules and whatever in my, that's fine. All I'm proving is have a conversation with your consumer, give them a reason to come and spend time with you, and they will. And if you build it and tell them about it, then they'll come.
Sure. And as you said, without saying it, it's really the KISS principle.
It is indeed. And I'm flipping glasses because at the end, I do want to make a point, even about that business there. But keep it simple, silly, keep it simple, stupid, I prefer, because if you do keep it simple and keep the message clear and understand, you will be successful in growing the business, because business is easy. It's a lot of hard work, but it is easy. It's not complicated in any way, shape, or form. There are just some simple things you have to do along the way. Right.
One of them is stay focused. So what should a business owner do more of, and what should they do less of?
Ken, they should do more advertising. Most of them are probably doing none. Most of them probably believe that social media is all of their advertising. Most of them believe social media is effective and working for them, when in reality, social media is just an advertising vehicle.
Right.
People listen to podcasts, they listen to radio, they watch television, they go out and they drive to and from work, they do all this stuff. You have to try and reach them. And if you reach them with advertising, you'll bring them in. Another thing businesses can do, and sampling can be seen in many ways, as simple as providing a piece of pizza to somebody, or providing an insight or a little bit of value to them, which you're going to give them for free, because a sample is basically allowing them to test your vehicle, your product, your idea, your whatever, without having to pay for it. And the higher the cost of an item, the more likely that sample is to convert them.
True. So given what they should do more of, what should they do less of?
Giving up. They have to understand that it takes 7 or more interactions often to get a sale.
Yeah, that's the rule of 7. And not long ago, I spoke to Neil Patel, and we talked about the rule of 7. And he said, that is still true today, but given how we're inundated with messaging in today's digital environment, he said some of the research now is pointing to 22 or more touches.
Right. And what he's probably saying is we're getting very good at filtering that stuff out. We're very good at zipping through and going, I know that's an ad, I know that's an ad, I know that's an ad. So that then brings you back to content.
Right.
And the importance of content, which we started out with and which we're at now. But the 7 interactions, we have to remember that a baseball player at bat fails 70% of the time.
Right.
So we have to accept the losses. A hockey player fails 90% of the time when he's trying to score goals. So these guys have a high failure level, and yet they still persist. So you have to persist. But what you have to do is when that customer is in, don't ignore them, talk to them, don't sell them, provide them with content, show them that you're an expert.
Right. And bringing in those examples of hockey and baseball and so on, I think it helps crystallize it for a lot of people. Striking out or getting out 70% of the time means you have 30% of the time you have some degree of success. It may be hitting a single, not a home run, but I'll take singles all day long if that's going to get me to the end game.
Ken, I agree totally that that's what you have to do. You have to recognize that customer that you've got, once they're in, is the one you have to spend the time with. They're
Right.
the ones that you have to go back to. So easy, and you were in the advertising business for a while, so you know how much time people focus on getting new business. And I always said, forget about focusing on the new business. Am I keeping my current customer happy? What more can I do for them? And then they're going to love me more, and they're going to communicate out to others how much I am providing them with value.
Sure, they become your referral engine. I know you know the data that says it costs 7 times more to find a new customer than to retain an existing customer. It's just common sense, and yet so often we ignore that. The other thing I want to punctuate the comment that you made about, staying, if you've got somebody interested in your product or service, or maybe they're an existing or past customer, it's not a matter of just, send them an email.
Mm-mm.
Pick up the phone.
FaceTime, Ken. It was the key success factor in my career. When I worked at Nabisco, I was in the bakery that we have in Toronto on the lakeshore. And it was a long walk through the bakery over to the other side to get to the tech people. And they gave me this project that they hadn't launched in 10 years. And they said, okay, we want you to do it. And they'd never done a test market. They had never launched a chocolate product. The list goes on of nevers. And I managed to pull together a team of 20, but it was important that I walk around. I was rarely in my office. I was in my office afterwards when I had to grind out the numbers. But I was out FaceTiming analog, the old-fashioned, I'm in front of you, Ken, and I'm trying to get to know you. I want to talk to you, understand what your motivator is. I walked into the packaging girl's office while we were working on this project, and I looked at her and I said, what would you do? She looked at me. She looked at me and she said, with her eyes cocked, what do you mean, what would I do? And I said, you're the packaging expert. Tell me what I should do. I'm not coming to you and telling you what to do. But these 20 people all got caught up. They all got recognized by the president. We launched a $20 million business in Canada. It's going to be an $80 million business in the US. And it was a wonderful success. It was supposed to be test marketed for a year. It was launched within 3 months nationally. They couldn't wait. And it was 3 times more successful than anything they'd done in the previous decade. Now, is that all me? No. That is a technical team that is phenomenal. I don't want the glory, Ken. I know that if everybody else gets the glory, I've done my job, and I sit back and go, thank God I did it right. I didn't lose any sleep. I had the great team around me, and they're the ones who should be allowed to shine.
There's no I in team.
Absolutely.
Right? It takes a team. What are some of the things that both experienced and newbie business owners should know about marketing their business?
Ken, especially when you're small, I found that the most important thing to do when I bought the Colonel's franchise is let the experts do what they do best.
Mm-hmm.
Hire a good lawyer, get them to do a job. Hire a good bookkeeper, get her to manage the books. Because I can make 5 times what a bookkeeper can selling product. Hire a good accountant, because they'll save you money 5 times over every year they file your taxes. I don't want to be a tax expert. I don't want to do accounting. I don't want to do bookkeeping. I don't want to do any of that other stuff. Hire the experts, let them do that. The other thing that I think that they have to do is they have to determine what their return is, to always focus on the thing that's going to give them the most amount of benefit from the least amount of work. And for me, Ken, that was a time management system, which prioritized my project list each and every day. It got translated, wasn't done technically with a computer. I hand wrote it out each day, and I prioritized each item. And by doing that, Ken, I always focused on the biggest and the most profitable items.
Perfect. I've been talking to Owen Crisp, Owen is the owner of marketinguncomplicated.com, and we've been having a really super conversation. And Owen, I want to thank you for being with me today. How can people best reach you? This is your shameless promo or plug.
Oh, no shameless promo or plug. It's real simple. It's marketinguncomplicated.com. Ken, that's it. Go there. There's all kinds of free advice. There's a way to reach out to reach me. And over the course of our discussion, for those who are online, I changed glasses 3 times because I want to relay just a little short story to you that I think people should be aware of in business. Those 3 pairs of glasses that I've got on, I think cost me $60, and they're all prescription, and they're all, sunglasses and whatever. And I got them through a company that I've trusted and I've done all the work for, and I like them, and the glasses fit and they work and whatever. So about 3 weeks ago, we were going through an election here, and there was an election office just down the lane a bit from the hardware store we were going into. And I said, Andrea, let's go in and let's see. So I went in and I started talking to the guy, and he's supposed to be portraying an image of professionalism, and he is trying to get people's votes. And he's got a pair of glasses on that are so old and so scratched up, and he's a very wealthy man. He's not lacking, but you have to understand the image that you portray is what people are going to take away at the end of the day. And take care of the little things, and the big things will take care of themselves, both from a pair of glasses to what you do in business to where you're going in life. Always focus on the little things, and the dollars will come along afterwards.
Great advice. Owen Crisp, thanks so much for joining me today. I look forward to the next time we chat.
Thank you very much, Ken, and you take care, and I hope your listeners have found this of value.
I'm sure they have. And that was Owen Crisp. He has marketinguncomplicated.com. I hope you enjoyed this episode that had some really great tips on how to create a unique selling proposition, or USP. And don't forget to check out our brand new Email Marketing Online Academy. It's www.marketyourbusiness.co/email-academy. That's where you'll find out more. Check out all of our episodes of the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast. It's on our website, marketyourbusiness.co. Look for the podcast tab, and there you'll find all previous episodes. And while you're on our website, don't forget to check out all the other resources and sign up for our weekly newsletter too.
Thanks for listening to the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast with Ken Countess. Be sure to visit marketyourbusiness.co to access show notes, discover our fantastic content, and sign up for our mailing list. Have questions? Send Ken an email, ken@thecountessgroup.com, ken@thecountessgroup.com, or Twitter @CountessGroup. See you next time.
If you need help with this or anything else related to marketing your business, reach out to us.